Okay.
So you can see my foot.
I don't know. Can you? No, you can't.
You can see this foot.
Your foot's fine. What are you worried about? Ended up on Feet Finder?
No, my sock looks weird.
It looks great.
I didn't think you'd be able to see my feet.
I'm sorry. I was going to focus in on my feet, actually.
Shut up.
All right. Welcome back to episode 4. I think this is the 4th episode.
I don't know. It's your podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Welcome back to this episode. I'm pretty sure it's episode 4 of the O2B podcast. I am here joined with my girlfriend.
Hi, everybody.
What's your name? What's your name?
Amanda.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my this is my girlfriend Amanda. So we are here in her house, doing the podcast. If you're just listening to this, which most people are watching, I've realized, but if you are just listening to this, there's a video that's on YouTube if you want to check it out. This has been something that I wanted to do for a while, just in general content. That sounds weird, but like something with you, because we've been together for years at this point, and we haven't. But that's been on purpose, which I guess we could talk about at some point.
I mean,
later.
I don't know. On purpose? What do you mean by that?
Well, like because people are weird, so
yeah.
that's why. Like I've basically learned my lesson and. Maybe I've taken it too far, which I talked about last podcast with Max. Like maybe I don't share enough and like I'm too guarded, but some people got a little too weird, and so it made me not want to share my relationships because they just got a little like overbearing and like overzealous, and people would like add them on Instagram and then message them, and then when we weren't together they would try and like, what happened? Was it, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It just got to be weird. So, but I wanted to do this, and you've been down to. It's not going to forcing you, right?
I've just been respectful of whatever it is that you have wanted to do.
Yeah. Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
But so I figured like I have an idea of what I want this podcast to be. I think the first thing that people would be very upset if we didn't talk about how we met. And like started dating, I guess.
Yeah.
So you tell that story.
I'm not a good storyteller.
Go for it. I want to drink some of this coffee.
Oh my
How did we meet?
We met. I had been following John for quite a while.
It's true.
Oh gosh.
I'm a big deal with that.
It's a little self-centered, but yeah, I had been following John because I also lost a lot of weight. So
yeah, Amanda's lost 150 pounds.
Yeah. So I followed him on social media, and he was posting in his stories a story of him bench pressing, and the angle that the video was recorded from was like from above, and he had like this little tiny ponytail at the time. So I was just
it was a joke.
But it was like
a top knot.
It was like a little baby ponytail.
Yeah, as
like
a joke.
You looked like a toddler.
It's true.
So he posted that, and I was like just flicking through, and when I saw the video, I think he was benching like 315 pounds or something.
I don't know, probably like 800 pounds.
It was not. I think it was 315, and I was just like, oh, I thought this was. I messaged him, and I was like, I thought this was a really buff woman, and then I'll let you tell it from there.
Yeah. So the story goes. So that's kind of true, but also it's kind of not
that
true.
is the story.
Yes, but. There was interactions before that I think are important.
But I don't think we talked before that.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. We talked before that.
No, we didn't.
You had sent me a before and after.
Yeah, but you didn't say anything to it, did you?
Yeah, I said good job.
Oh.
Like that. So
Wow, the lore is extensive.
Yeah, it's important. You have to bring all this stuff up. So so she sent me that message, but like on Instagram, the way that it works is like if you've ever replied to someone. You know, you can see the previous messages. And so I had seen that you had sent me this before and after. And then you said something about how just incredible I am and just how buff I look all the time. And something along, I think it was like that. But it was just basically saying thank you, I just wanted to share this or something like that. And I just said congratulations. But at the time, I know I was in a relationship. I'm pretty sure you were in a relationship. So I just, I was like, that's awesome. And then when you had messaged me that time, again, I didn't know that she was in a relationship, right? And so when you had messaged me that, I wasn't in a relationship anymore. And then so I saw the before and after in our messages.
I wasn't in a relationship at the time either. Let's just make that clear.
That's why I'm saying that but I didn't know if you were in a relationship before or after. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
And so I just was like, oh, she looks pretty. And so then we started talking. And that's kind of how we started conversing, I guess, was you hopped in the DMs, really.
But I don't like when you say it like that.
Why?
Because it makes it seem like I was like, ooh, you're so hot.
Yeah, well, that's what you were doing.
No, I wasn't.
You were. No. I'm pretty sure there are messages that said that.
No.
I'm pretty sure it is. But so that's how we met. And then we kind of just started talking, and as you guys can tell, well, maybe you can't, but I'm on the East Coast because that's where Amanda lives. So it's been long distance for that whole time, basically for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And it comes with its own peaks and valleys. But I don't hate coming over here because it is nice to get away, and it's so different from San Diego, which is where I live and have lived my entire life. But it definitely, like with anything, when you're traveling this much and you're like, it just throws off your routine, which is something that I'm like very much so needed for me. Routine is so important to me.
Yeah.
And I've been learning more and more. Apparently that's pretty common with people with ADD, sticking to routine and how that helps people. But yeah, so that's kind of just how we started talking. I mean, obviously there's much more to the story as far as how we got together and all that stuff, but there's certain things I just don't really feel like sharing with people. I don't think everyone needs to know everything, but...
I mean, like, what else would you share?
That's true. That's a good point.
Like, what else? What other kind of questions do you think people would really
I don't know. I'm sure there's tons of questions that people would have. I'm very interesting, and I'm like basically a spy, and people are very curious about my whereabouts and my liaisons. And
honey, you are very transparent.
That's true.
You said I'm having a bad day.
It's true. I share too much on the internet. But yeah, so that's how we kind of got started talking. But what I thought would be interesting, and we kind of talked about this before I decided to record this, we decided to record this, was, we were kind of like racking our brains, what can we talk about? I was like, obviously I could do like a Q&A thing and have people ask me questions, which who knows, maybe I'll do that in the future. But I was just like, it's going to be questions that I feel like I'm going to expect. Mm-hmm. And like, so I just was like, okay, what can we talk about that would be interesting that wouldn't be too self-indulgent? Because I didn't want it to make it like, oh, let's talk about us and our relationship. Mm. And so I was like, okay, what can we talk about? And then you actually suggested, what was your suggestion? Mm. You don't remember your suggestion?
No, I was talking to you yesterday, and I was like, I feel like it would be interesting for you to discuss the things that you've noticed over time in other people that have lost a lot of weight, and like what factors that have made weight loss sustainable for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that's what you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had discussed this before.
No, we didn't.
Okay. We did.
No, we didn't. I like vaguely mentioned it to him yesterday.
Yeah, that's enough.
No. Yeah. He said I formulated this whole plan. Yeah. We had an extensive discussion about it. No,
but you mentioned it, and I said, all right, bet.
Well, no, because John's met a lot of people along his journey of being on the internet that have lost weight. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there are certain things that, as you meet a lot of people that have lost weight and kept it off, that become a commonality amongst those people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is usually there is a genuine love for some type of fitness. Ooh. Now, it doesn't have to be like going to the gym per se, but usually it's something. Like the amount of people that I've seen lose weight and then keep it off for a significant amount of time that just like are always like, I hate working out, I hate the gym, I hate lifting, I hate, being active is pretty low. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that's zero, but I would say that in general it's pretty low. And I think the reason for that is because I do think that like finding something that you enjoy that gets you out and like, I think obviously like burning calories I think is part of it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more to it. Like it's not just that it burns calories, but it takes up part of your day that you would, for most people that are significantly overweight, that, you know, have to lose a lot of weight. We have maybe not the healthiest relationship with food. So it gets you out of the house. And so you just, as silly as it sounds, that's less time for you to be home eating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like on top of that, especially if you are into, like, say, lifting or endurance training, all of those things, like, what you eat does matter and it affects how you feel. And so a lot of times, say, if you are into lifting, you're going to want to be eating more protein because why would you not, right? Yeah. To increase the amount of muscle you're able to put on. If you're spending all that time in the gym, why would you not do the best that you could, right? And the same thing with, like, say, endurance training. If you're someone that likes running, you're not going to want to eat like crap and then go on a run right afterwards. I know you like running. I know I like running. And one of my least favorite things to do is running when I don't feel well, like because of something I ate or something, you know. So I think that that's one of the biggest things. What about you? Like,
so what you mean is like body awareness, and like becoming more aware of like your body and how food makes you feel. It sounds like that's what you mean.
Well, I mean, I think that's its own thing, but I think that helps you.
And then finding, obviously, some sort of fitness that you enjoy.
Yeah. So the point that I made was the finding some sort of fitness that you enjoy. I've really struggled finding people that are able to keep weight off for a significant amount of time that like just genuinely hate working out. And I'm not saying that you have to enjoy going to the gym and, like, you know, doing like CrossFit or doing even bodybuilding stuff, but finding something. Like it could be going on hikes. It could be literally going on even long walks. Right? But it also can be bodybuilding. It can be CrossFit. It can be running. It can be kayaking. It can be tennis. It can be literally just something that gets you moving, right? Because in my opinion, the majority of us that struggle with weight significantly, that are significantly overweight, we're usually not the most active.
Yeah.
And you know, there might be someone that's watching this or might leave a comment that, like, I was pretty active and it still didn't matter. Like, this might not be for you, but I would say, obviously, don't stop working out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, keep doing it. But yeah, is there anything that you kind of comes to mind for you?
That I've noticed in other people?
Yeah, because you lost 150 pounds and you kept it off for about the same amount of time that I've had my weight off. Yeah. A little bit later. But.
I lost weight in 2015.
Yeah.
So since 2016.
2013, 14 is when I started losing weight.
So you're a little bit older than me.
Not everyone can be like me. But
it's true. You're the OG, honey. I think developing some sort of awareness around your eating behaviors. Like what I notice in a lot of other people is that when you first come to your weight loss journey dieting, you are very unaware of how much you're actually eating or, you know, the choices you're making. But regardless, I think people that can keep weight off long term, they develop an understanding of the behaviors that are leading them down the path of overeating. So like for me, for example, to clarify that better, eating in the car was a big one for me. Like, so
I was never a car eater.
Yeah. Well, you didn't really drive before you lost weight.
Okay. True.
Yeah. It took like a consciousness on my part to be like.
I was afraid to get my license until I was 20.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started losing weight. And I hated going. I still don't like going through drive-thrus.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. He never goes to the drive-thru. He always wants to go inside.
Shout out. Shout out to my indoor homies. What?
I thought you were going to make a different joke.
No. I don't know what joke you're thinking, but maybe we don't say it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what she's laughing at.
I said he always wants to go inside.
Oh, no, don't. This is a good podcast. We don't talk about that stuff.
I don't remember what I was saying now.
You were talking about
like awareness.
I didn't.
Food awareness.
Not eating in your car.
Well, for me, that's what it was. Like I noticed that I would eat a lot in my car because I was anxious. Driving was an activity that induced a lot of anxiety in me.
Still
So
does.
yeah, it still does.
With her, oh my God, it's terrifying.
It still does. And I noticed that I was eating a lot.
I'd be terrified.
I was eating a lot while I was driving.
And screaming.
And being anxious. That one. So I had to limit myself from eating while I was driving. So now I don't eat in my car at all, is what I mean to say. But
and another one is you don't eat in your bed, right?
I don't eat in my bed. I don't eat in my car. And
did you eat in your bed a lot before? Is that why?
Yes. Okay. But I noticed that it was like I was pairing the relaxation activities with times like I enjoyed eating in bed because it was like ultimately relaxing for me. Mm-hmm. Like being in bed was very relaxing, and then also eating was relaxing to me. Uh-huh. So just developing sort of an awareness of my food behaviors was really important to me. And I've noticed a lot of other people that have kept weight off long term have an awareness of the food behaviors that are not the greatest for them. Mm-hmm. Like for you, what do you think like some of your eating behaviors were prior to?
Well, my eating behaviors, like I struggled with this one because they were just so bad that it was like a relatively, I don't want to say it was easy. It wasn't easy to stop, but it was easy to like, I knew immediately things I shouldn't be doing. Mm. Like when I started, like for me, it was like I was drinking a double gulp from 7-Eleven of soda. Mm. I knew that I shouldn't be doing that, even though I continued to do it. It wasn't like I had to like, what are the things that it was like obvious to me. Like drinking soda, I would go to 7-Eleven at 1 a.m. And just get a ton of snacks because a lot of times I would go there and like, I would go there strategically at that time because they'd be getting rid of all the hot case stuff. And so they'd just give me the free taquitos and stuff. So, things like that I obviously had to stop. But yeah, I struggle with things like very specific things because it was almost like everything that I was doing was just like wrong. I was just eating so poorly.
Like the quality of your food.
Everything, quality and the quantity of it. It was just too much. It was like basically everything you could be doing wrong, I was doing wrong.
Yeah. I think for me that stands out so much, like the food behavior thing and like the food patterns, because it's still something that I notice about myself today. Like just literally yesterday or the day before, we were having a rough day and I was pacing in my house eating goldfish. Like, was I hungry?
She ate almost the whole freaking bag.
I did. I ate almost the whole bag. I was not hungry. I was just anxious and I was like soothing with food.
Yeah.
And I feel like in order to be successful long term, you have to have an awareness of what you're doing. And before I lost weight, I had no awareness of how my behavior was interconnected with what I was eating.
Yeah, that was a crazy day. We had a plumber here and an electrician at the same time.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And like they were like one was coming up this door in the back and then one was coming up. It was just a lot. It was a lot.
And he was on the phone.
Yeah, and I was on the phone and the call that I was having wasn't the greatest. It was just a lot at one time. Okay, so I think that's a really good point. I think for me, the other one that really sticks out that we had a very deep conversation about that you just obviously don't remember was like being able to, we actually did kind of talk about this, but being able to say, have like a bad food or whatever and like move on from it. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed is one of the biggest differences between someone that has been able to, I need to stop this with this pillow. Someone that has been able to lose weight and then they might have lost a crazy amount of weight, but then they gain it back. Or maybe they've done that multiple times.
Yeah.
Versus the person that has lost weight and kept the majority of it off. I'm not even saying all of it because I haven't kept all my weight off. You haven't kept all your weight off. I think that's another thing that I could even bring up. But it's like I'm not obsessed with being at my lowest weight, which I think is another point. But I'll make that later, I guess. But one of the things is being able to have a diet that you like roughly want to stick to for the most part. And then if you eat off, I don't even like saying it like that. Like it's like this, I messed up. But like just have something that maybe isn't the best, right?
Yeah.
Like we went out recently to her sister's birthday party and I had like a whole pizza, right? It was thin crust. It was really not that great. But normally I would never eat that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think while I was eating it, oh my God, this is such a huge mistake. I can't believe I've done this. I'm failing right now. Tomorrow I need to lock in. It was just like, I'm eating this pizza. We're at an event.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. And like move on from it. And I think that is one that's hard to hear if you are at the beginning of a journey, because it sounds impossible.
Yeah.
And it might even sound like stupid. Right? Like I need to be strict. And I don't even disagree with you there. I do think, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I do think there is truth in being like, strictness has it itself has, it can fluctuate, I think is what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah. So like at the start, it's maybe you have to be really strict, but then eventually as you continue being successful, that strictness can, and I would argue should. Wane down, right? Because if you continue being 100% strict, like you might see results, but the times that maybe you do quote unquote slip up or don't eat according to plan are going to feel like these huge mistakes you've made, and you're going to usually that ends up being like you feel that you have to make up for it.
Yeah.
So
it's all or nothing mentality.
Yeah, you end up punishing yourself. And the reason I'm not a huge fan of this is because this was the mentality I was in when I was struggling the most with binge eating.
Yeah.
Because like I felt like I had to be perfect, and I was like, say if you were outside looking in, you'd be like, wow, his diet is like, I mean, it wasn't perfect. Like I still didn't eat like a lot of the foods I ate were like prepackaged salads and stuff, right? But it was like pretty low calorie. If I filmed a video, most people would be like, wow, that's relatively healthy, you know? Now, if I film a video, people are probably like, you ate that many chips? Or like, that's you know what I mean? But like...
They certainly would.
They would. I eat a lot of chips. I like chips. But like, the diet that I have now, it's not perfect.
It's not.
But it works for me.
Yeah.
And that is so much healthier long term than this diet that I was trying to stick to, that I could stick to for 3-4 days, but then I would binge like crazy for a day, and then the cycle would continue. And at that moment, I've talked about this before, at that moment when I was struggling with binge eating, that was the most that I felt like there's no way I can keep the weight off.
Yeah.
Because I felt out of control.
Yeah.
And so for me, being able to like take a step back and understand that the diet's not always going to be perfect, and like I don't think that it's, I mean, maybe it's possible for some people, but like for me it's not possible to be quote unquote perfect, to have like the quote unquote perfect diet. And
well,
so
I mean,
instead,
what is perfect, right?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess when I say perfect, what I'm kind of talking about is like the diet that you see on TikTok or like Instagram.
Well, I think what you're saying is
so
orthorexia.
yeah, basically. Like everything is so pretty and like you know, you might do chicken breast, but you cooked it yourself and it's seasoned yourself, and you don't have a lot of sauce on it, and like the vegetables are just steamed. There's not a bunch of oil on it, right? And like you eat oatmeal, but you don't really put anything in it. It's stuff like that, or like there's like walnuts and all healthy and natural organic ingredients, right? Like the things you see on TikTok, right? Like that's just not how I eat. And I mean, I think if you're someone that consumes my content, it's very clear, you know that, right? If you've watched any of my full day of eatings in the past few years, like it's clear that that's not something that's important to me. And I think for a while, I was almost embarrassed about it. And I would try, I've talked about this before, I would try and like almost like fake my diet when I would film a full day of eating, or like add more, or even sometimes, like there was times where I would not show everything I was eating because I was embarrassed that people are going to say you're eating too much, which now I think is just crazy.
I don't think you've ever shared that anywhere.
I have.
Yeah.
I made a full day of eating kind of talking about how I've been lying and yada, clickbait thumbnail. But like, before, it was like I almost hid how much I was eating because I didn't want to seem like I was messing up or eating too much. Now it's like crazy to think that. Like I want people to see how much I eat, because I want people to see that you can eat this much still.
Yeah, we talk about that often.
Yeah, like
we have a very normal life/relationship with food now, and I think
as normal as it can be from people that have come from where we came.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. And I think people would be surprised to see that like when we're out and about and we stop and get coffee, it's not like we're not reading the fine print on the menu, trying to find every sugar-free option. We're just like, we just live life like normal people.
Yeah.
It's all about just like finding ways to fit things into your life and to make your diet just part of your life.
Yeah, and like
it's not always going to come right away.
Yeah.
Like it didn't come right away for me. And there still might be things years down the line that you still struggle with. For example, for me, like Cheez-Its, Goldfish, those types of snacks are diabolical for me. Yeah. I will eat the whole container. So like I don't ever buy a box of Cheez-Its. I still allow myself to have them. Like I live right by like a bunch of little bodegas. I'll walk to a bodega and get like a little packet, single packet, and I'll eat it. Zero guilt, zero shame, enjoy it, love it. But I'm just not gonna be able to keep a box in my house. And there have been a lot of other foods that have been like that where at the start I couldn't have them because I didn't know how to regulate myself around those types of foods. But like over time I've been able to like reintroduce them into my life. And I know for you it's been the same with certain foods.
There's still certain things that I try not to eat just because I know that I'll probably, like cereal for me is still one that if I usually just don't buy a box because it's so hard for me to just do one bowl. Yeah. And like, it's so easy for me to eat like half a box, 3/4 of it. Usually I can't do a full one because that's a lot, but like a good amount of cereal.
But you still try sometimes. Every so often you'll try.
Yeah, I'll get them. But like one thing that recently, which I've talked about, is pizza. Like we've talked about this too. Like for pizza for the longest time, like in my head, I just thought of it as the most unhealthy food anyone can ever eat, which is ridiculous now that I look back. But like, in my brain, I had sectioned it off in no food that you're not allowed to eat. And I don't know why pizza and like most foods, I did that for a lot of stuff. Yeah, when I was really struggling with like, I guess orthorexia, binge eating and stuff, when I was trying to eat only clean foods, there was so much stuff that I put in that compartment in my brain. But for some reason, pizza just never made it out. Like I think because like growing up, didn't have much money, we would get the like $5 Little Caesars pizza so often, and I would always eat way too much, and I would always feel terrible afterwards, and so it just turned into this like that's the bad food you're not allowed to have. That's the demon food, right? And so, but recently I've been like making my own pizzas. That was how I kind of got into this pizza. But like I got started in making my own pizzas and realizing just. As silly as it sounds, the ingredients are nothing to be afraid of, right? It is a crust, which is basically bread, if you want to, right?
It's flour, water.
Basically bread, and then tomato sauce, which is just like pasta sauce, basically, right? Cheese, which for a long time I was afraid of, but now I eat cheese often, and then pepperonis.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nothing to be afraid of, but those things put together, for some reason, that was like something I wasn't allowed to have.
It's probably the context of what you associated pizza with in the past, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's obviously a reason why I was so anti it for such a long time. But there have been things that like that even recently I've been working through and I've been able to, push past. So I really do think that that's one of the main things that I've noticed, like, and I don't want to say the main thing, but it really is like when I'm talking to someone that has lost a lot of weight, that has kept it off for a long time, they're almost never super crazy strict with their diet.
It's true.
Like, they might have been in the past. And again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's how I was.
That's how I was.
That's how you were. Like, I think that that's a normal phase to go through.
Yeah, phases.
But I think it's a phase that you should go through, right? Like, not stay in. Yeah. Because I feel like it's necessary to a point, because at first it's necessary to be successful, but then it's detrimental to your success.
Yeah, well, because that's the start. You're still learning too. Mm-hmm. Like it's going to take you a while to develop like the sense of body awareness, to understand your habits around food and like what your relationship with food looks like. And then also to figure out like meals that work for you, how foods make you feel. And I think just having a lot of variety in that at the start can be overwhelming to try to find your way through it. So like, find your way through it, but like you said, get through it and start to reintroduce those foods into your life, because there's never going to be a day in your life where it's going to be your birthday and you're not going to want a piece of cake. And you shouldn't have to live your life like that. Like your diet should work within the context of your life. And your life should be joyous and fun and enjoyable, and food can be part of that experience. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And in order to be successful and truly make your new body like stick, you gotta make it part of your life. You gotta make the things that you're doing sustainable. So,
yeah. So what else? Do you have another one? I feel like I've been talking.
I don't think so. Honey, you just talk a lot.
I do, but people are gonna be mad at me.
No, they're not.
They're like, you're supposed to interview her. You should not be talking.
No, I don't want to be interviewed.
People are gonna be mad.
I don't want to be interviewed.
I already know it. I'm already ready for the comments.
I'm not a talkative person.
That's true.
I mean, I am talkative. I am talkative, but I'm not a good storyteller. I can talk about things topically, but storytelling is just not my forte.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, okay. He said, let me tell you the story for 45 minutes. I got you.
So the other one is, which I didn't even on purpose do this, but I was talking about it earlier, was not being too attached to the goal weight, right?
Yeah, that's important.
I feel like that's one that I understand that this might sound ridiculous if you're someone that's never gotten to the goal weight, right? Or you've struggled with that so much. I understand that this sounds like not something you should worry about, which, if I'm being completely honest, you probably shouldn't, right? Like, if you're not there yet, I don't think that like, being stressed out about this is something you need to do. But, for the people that have lost weight, that I've noticed, that have kept it off, is that most of the time, they are not at their lowest weight forever. Because a lot of times, I think I've realized that a lot of us that struggle with our weight, that lose a lot of weight, we don't know what our quote-unquote goal weight should be, right? Because the example that I can use as myself was, I always said 180 pounds was my goal weight.
Yeah.
I weigh 215 pounds.
For me, it was like, I want to be like 120. Dude, no way.
Yeah.
I weigh 170 pounds.
Yeah. What's the lowest that you were at?
155.
So do you think it would be healthy for you to be at that weight constantly?
It would be difficult.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult. And I was also, it's hard for me to say because maybe under different circumstances, but I have a lot of muscle mass. I'm very muscular.
Okay. Jeez.
It's true. Okay. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And so at 155 pounds, I was pretty lean. So at that point in my life,
And she's 6 foot because I'm 6'5". So.
No, I'm not. At that point, I was pretty lean, and I was
but I am 6'5".
I was not menstruating.
Yeah, but I am 6'5" though.
Because no, he's not.
That's true.
He's short king.
No.
So at that point, no, 155 wouldn't be sustainable.
Yeah, and that's a really common thing though with women.
Yeah,
is to lose the period.
Yeah, if you're too skinny. Mm-hmm. But maybe if I was not to say that there could be other women that are my height, similar body frame that could be 150.
Yeah.
And it'd be maintainable.
Yeah, I was just saying for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it depends.
I think she still wants to be there.
No, that's not what it is. Okay. I don't like making definitive statements. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I can say for me, if I tried to stay at 180, because I did get down to that weight, but that was when I was competing. Oh,
no, the lowest I got is 149. I was 149.
Yeah.
So I think I could probably stay healthily at 155. Maybe 155, 160.
Okay. All right. You do you.
Okay.
You do you.
Yeah.
But for me, when I was 180, that's when I was literally on stage, right? That was basically, I think 179 was the lowest that I saw. And that was when I was on stage competing, and to be that lean for me is not healthy. It required so much sacrifice. It's one of those things that I'm glad that I did the show. It taught me a lot, but would I recommend most people compete? Probably not.
I will never do that shit.
But that's a whole nother topic. But that did show me that so many people, we get so caught up in this goal weight that we set. And really, in reality, it's an arbitrary number that we decide that a lot of times is hundreds of pounds away that we have no idea that we're going to look like. A lot of us don't account into loose skin going into that, especially if you're losing 200 pounds or whatever, right? That adds to your weight that you might, a lot of people end up feeling they need to be super lean, but they don't realize that maybe they are actually pretty lean because they have loose skin. You can't really tell as much.
Makes it hard.
it makes it hard to see, right?
Yeah.
Which loose skin is something that I do want to talk about. But like, so I think for me, I've realized that a lot of people that don't get caught up in being the leanest that they can be always usually is a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so speaking of loose skin, was that something like, when did you start to notice it, and like, was it difficult for you?
So just to be transparent, I don't have that much loose skin. I have a little bit of loose skin that you can feel on my arms.
All right, get up and show everybody.
No. And then most of my loose skin is on my abdomen. Mm-hmm. I did not realize that I had loose skin until I had pretty much lost the weight and kept it off for, I think it was probably about like 2017, 2018 when I realized that the reason that my stomach looked the way it did was not because I was fat, but because I had loose skin. Mm. So I was like late to the game on that one. I just thought like, I got to lose weight. I got to continue to lose weight, not realizing that like, no matter how much weight I lost, I was still like, my abdomen was still going to look the way it looked. Because like I've had abs, visible abs, and still I have loose skin, which just is what it is. But, and what was the second part of that question you asked?
Just like when did you realize you had loose skin, and how did you deal with it, basically?
Deal with it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how did you?
Fucking part of my body. I don't know. I just deal with it. It's on my body.
It's exactly what I say. But like, did it take you time to, when you realized that you had loose skin, was it hard to accept? Was it like, did you want to get surgery to get rid of it? Did you like how did you accept it?
Okay, yeah. I think for me, it was never that huge of a deal to me because I lost weight when I was a little bit older. And like I said, by the time I was 23 when I lost weight.
Yeah. It's older compared to a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Or like even you lost weight when you were before 20.
I was 20 when I lost weight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was in a long-term committed relationship. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that makes a difference too. But I was already like older by the time I realized what was going on. I was like 25, 26 years old. Mm-hmm. And by that age, most of the women that I knew, most of the people in real life that I knew had stomachs that looked very similar to mine. So I wasn't confused about.
I said, hell yeah, dude. Part of the squad.
Well, no, I was just like, okay, this is just what happens when you get older, I guess. Like you just have skin that looks like this. Yeah. Honestly, I started becoming more insecure about it when I started following more fitness people online. That was really when I became aware that I had loose skin, was like following fitness influencers. It was when I got into fitness, which was around 2017. That's why I said 2017.
Yeah.
So I started following accounts online, and I was just like, my body's never going to look like this. Even if I do everything I'm supposed to be doing, I'm never going to look like these girls that I see online.
Yeah. It definitely can make it harder for sure. Like the constant comparison, like it's tough because I understand that like being able to look at that stuff can be motivating, but it definitely can get to a point where it's almost demotivating.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started Instagram, or first started like working out, I had my regular Instagram and I just followed a ton of fitness people, right? And this was when the shred stuff was really popular. And I quickly unfollowed so many of them because it was just too much. It was like, and I was like noticing, and I was like, I don't really trust these people. It seems a little scammy. Yeah. But it was the same stuff over and over again, and it didn't feel like it was speaking to me, and it didn't feel like it was making me feel any better.
Yeah.
You know? And so I kind of just hopped off.
I just also feel like in those days when you and I were losing weight, like people didn't really talk about loose skin ever. Like we have you to thank for that, honey.
I don't know about that, but there's definitely a lot more discourse on it. And you see like tons of people now sharing their journeys of having loose skin, getting loose skin surgeries, getting revisions from the surgeries, how the recovery is. And that stuff's been interesting to me as someone that, I have loose skin and, I don't have any plans to get surgery, but I'm not like, I'll never get it and no one can convince me to get it, right? But like, it's interesting seeing how like people's journeys through the surgery and how they deal with it, and how some people's recovery is like no problem at all, and some people it's like freaking really scary, you know? But yeah, it's definitely a lot more on the forefront.
It's different now.
I don't know if I have anything to do with that. I think just in general, the internet, like everyone
you definitely
is more...
have something to do with that.
I don't
Yes, you do.
What do you mean?
Before you were talking about loose skin, people were not talking about it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a trendsetter. What can I say?
Not a trendsetter, but kind of. I don't know.
Shout out to me, I guess.
You're fucking iconic, honey.
But so like, but now you see so many people talking about it, and I do think that is a good thing.
Yeah, like I remember back in the day, I would see before and after pictures where now looking back on the photos, they
had loose skin and they were like hiding it.
No, they clearly had a tummy tuck.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh my God, her stomach is so flat. Like, I can't wait till mine looks like that.
Yeah. Well,
I see a photo, I'm like, this woman's clearly had a tummy tuck. I know what's going on.
Yeah. Or I think about like the extreme weight loss, extreme makeover weight loss edition or something like that. And they would have these people lose a ton of weight, but they would get loose skin surgery before they did the big reveal.
That was the one with Chris Powell, right?
No, that was a different show.
No, that was the one with Chris
Extreme
Powell.
Weight Loss. Extreme Weight Loss is the show with Chris Powell. I'm talking about Extreme Makeover.
Oh.
Weight loss. There was like Extreme Makeover, and then they do like a weight loss one that was like they had the home edition. I think was that Ryan Seacrest that was on that one.
No, it was. I think his name was Ty, but I don't remember what his actual name was.
Okay, but like they had one where it was like a weight loss one, and they would show them after they had gotten loose skin surgery, and a lot of times even on The Biggest Loser, I think that they would. I don't know. They would either get the surgery or they would make the loose skin as least noticeable as possible.
Like compression garments
and stuff like that. And so like I've always said like when I first started losing weight, I didn't know what loose skin really was.
We were in the wild, wild west when it came to that. Like no one was really talking about it.
And so now I think it's good that more people talk about that. And it's been interesting though, because there's definitely, I have heard people be like, oh, the loose skin scares me, so it makes me not want to lose weight.
Yeah, I hate that discourse.
Why? What do you hate about that?
Because I just feel like, first of all, it's like very devalidating to my existence and to like your existence, because saying that is to imply that people who live with loose skin are somehow like gross, freaky aliens. And
I think that's how they kind of feel. But I think,
shout out to you if you feel like that.
But I think it's because it's unknown. Like we as humans, I think are afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
And so they've been fat.
Yeah.
And so they're used to that, which comes with its own ridicule and issues. But seeing the loose skin, it's like, I've never had that. And they, in their minds, which I understand is, I would have to go through a year plus of like working really hard to then not be happy with the results, which I disagree with.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much that comes with it that, you'll have loose skin and maybe you're not super happy about that, but there's so many other positives that come with it. But I can understand the fear. I just think, I've always said, and maybe this is rude of me, but like people that say that, I'm just like, well, then you're just not ready. Yeah. Like you're clearly just not ready to lose weight. You're maybe using that as an excuse.
Yeah, I think for the most part that's what it is. I think it's an excuse. But I think so much of like how we view skin, loose skin, is like so deeply rooted in ageism. Like I feel like we never see representations of like women that are like grown women or like even old people. Because most people, when they like, not even just people that are obese, but most people, when you reach a certain age in life, you're going to have some loose skin. It's not that freaky. It's not that weird. It's not that out of the norm. It's just we never see that represented anywhere. And I feel like over the last few years, like people like you and other people who talk about like loose skin and like how bodies look are, making that a little bit more apparent. But like for me, before I was online following all of these fitness people, I kind of expected at a certain age to have a tummy that looked like my tummy now. Because most of the women in my life, that's what their tummy always looked like in, my memory, because they've had children. So, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's, loose skin is an interesting one because I struggle with it because there's so many people that I feel like if you follow a lot of influencers, weight loss influencers, it's your perception of like loose skin surgery gets kind of skewed because if you're someone that is an influencer online that has a big following because of your weight loss, you have a big following. And because you have a big following, a lot of times these doctors will reach out to you and say, I will pay for your surgery or I will give you a huge discount as long as you post about it.
Right? Hold on. Can you hold your thought for a minute?
Why?
Because I have a message for the people.
Okay, that's good.
If you're someone who comments on John's videos where he talks about his loose skin, saying, I know you're unhappy with your loose skin, you should just get surgery, fuck you. I can't stand when people do that. Or when they're like, no one will ever truly accept you or find you attractive with your loose skin. I literally do not even recognize or think about John's loose skin at all. It is just part of him. It is not even a singular thought in my mind.
But I am also a never nude. You've never seen me naked, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never nude from, have you seen that?
No.
Arrested Development? Oh. Well, that joke is ruined.
But I've seen him naked.
No.
Yeah, I have.
Nope, I've never been naked in my life.
Yeah, you have. Saw you naked not long ago.
But yeah, what was the point I was making?
See, I don't know. That's why I told you to hold your thought.
Oh, I'm sorry that I didn't hold it. Oh yeah, that's the point I was making. So like, if you follow a lot of people that have lost a lot of weight that are influencers, your perception of how many people get loose skin surgery, I do think gets kind of skewed because so many people get the loose skin surgery that are influencers because they're offered to it for free or for a discount, which I want to make it clear, I am not shading anyone that's gotten the surgery. I literally don't care. The reason I'm saying this is for the person that is following a lot of people that have gotten the surgery and you feel like it's almost like necessary or that everyone gets it. The vast majority of people that have lost a lot of weight don't get the surgery because of the expense, the time off, maybe work, the recovery, all of those things. I just want to make that is the truth, right? But when you're on social media and you're following people that have a following from losing weight, a lot of times they're also being reached out to by these companies to give them surgery for either free or a severe discount. And
you're like a public figure now. Yeah. Like the social pressure is so much higher.
Yeah, and then you have so many people commenting on your body saying that you definitely want it, right? Which is what people do to me, right? And so then you start to think, maybe I do want it. Maybe everything I'm saying is a lie. Maybe I'm just a big phony and that I've said this for 10 years now, but it's actually a lie, right? Those are things that I've thought about, to be honest. And like, I have this fear of like, what if I do decide to get the surgery? And then people are like, see, I told you, which I'm like, I don't want them to have that satisfaction, right? Yeah. So maybe I don't ever get the surgery, so they never can get it, even if maybe eventually I do. But you know.
That was so fast, honey.
Such is life. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about, but I have to pee really bad. And yeah.
Is there anything else you want to ask me before we depart? Anything you think the people would want to know?
I mean, I think that one thing that is just that you can share that I can't is just your experience as a woman with like someone that has lost weight as a woman. Like, I don't know what that question is, but like, it's always something I'm interested in because I can have conversations with you and glean information from our conversations, but I am not a woman that has been through the weight loss. So like, I don't know, is there anything you would say to a woman that maybe wants to lose weight that I wouldn't be able to say? I don't know, but like that's the only thing I can think of. So
I mean, I think all the same messages sort of apply across genders and identities. It's just you have to believe that you can do it because you can. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about him.
It's true.
Just kidding. There's a lot special about you.
No.
But you can do it. And I think the other thing is, as a woman, I cannot stress enough the importance of doing some sort of strength training in my personal ability to maintain the fat that I've lost.
Why is that?
Because I have a lot of muscle mass and I am a little bit heavier than what I would be otherwise. I have more calories in a day to play with without having excess body fat that's contributing to health issues. So if you can, try to build some muscle because you'll be able to eat more snacks. That's it. That's all I have to say.
And that's it.